just got that.
Hundreds probably, or
No, not
thousands.
that.
Hey, and I was like, oh, I know exactly who I'm giving it to.
Because I was going to ask.
Really?
Because people are hiding their stuff.
Oh,
It
yeah.
takes a year to get a claim delivery. So if you drive
Okay, we are on.
Thank you very much. Clerk, please call the roll.
Present.
Present.
Councilmember Odell? Here. Councilmember Perry?
Here.
Councilmember Shornack?
Present.
Councilmember Stein?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland?
Present.
That is a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item number 4, approval of the agenda. Is there any addition or change to the agenda? Councilmember Odell.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add on to new business, J, a resolution in support of the application for Detroit Institute of Arts Partners in Public Art Program for the City of Fraser to discuss.
All right. I'll make that item J. We have a second?
Yes.
Okay. Motion by Councilmember Odell, seconded by Councilmember Baranski to add item J, resolution DIA partners. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any other changes to the agenda as presented? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion to approve the agenda by Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland, second by Councilmember Stein. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 5, citizen participation on agenda items. This is the moment, or portion of the meeting where if you can't stay until the particular agenda item, you can speak on that item now. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak? Any item? All right, seeing none. Item number 6, consent agenda. Any changes, pullouts to the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember, or Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland, second by Councilmember Odell to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 7A, this is the public hearing for CDBG funding. City Manager Levin.
Annually, we receive funding from the county for community development block grant. And this is the opportunity where we have the public hearing and are able to hear from any of the public service agencies that are interested in obtaining some of this funding. We have $7,750 in funding available from the county, and the minimum allotment for each organization is $2,000.
Maximum, you said?
Minimum.
Minimum?
Yep.
Okay. So if we could do,
2,000 plus.
oh,
And
2,000.
then up to the $7,750, and you can split it between any number of organizations.
Okay. And thank you very much. I would open the public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant Funds at 6:34 PM. Is there anyone here to speak on this tonight? Come on up. Please speak into that microphone so we can hear you clearly. Yes.
Thank you. Got two.
Hi, my name is Sherry Warnock, and I'm a volunteer coordinator at Interfaith Volunteer Caregivers, or IVC. The number of older adults in Macomb County is expected to increase by more than 90% by 2040. This group of seniors needs extra support services due to changes that come with aging, chronic health conditions, or disabilities. At the same time, family structures are changing, often leaving seniors with nobody nearby to help. For over 30 years, our nonprofit organization has been providing free basic assistance to hundreds of frail, older, and physically challenged adults, helping them remain safely in their homes with the help of hundreds of volunteers. This assistance has been helping with transportation, chores, respite breaks, errands, and reducing loneliness. These opportunities provide fulfilling experiences for those who wish to volunteer, as well as support for those in need. The CDBG Safe at Home project of IVC is part of our larger chore and repair program. This project was developed to provide additional chore and repair services in communities that allocate funding for this purpose. Safe at Home allows us to assist low to moderate income seniors and physically challenged adults with indoor and outdoor chores, minor home repairs, and routine housekeeping. We identify individuals who cannot do these tasks on their own and have limited resources and prioritize those with the greatest need. We are requesting CDBG funds to increase the number of low-income citizens we can reach, to grow our program in your community, and to coordinate the volunteers who do these services. IVC provides almost 20,000 hours of help over all of its services to nearly 500 senior citizens and disabled adults each year. With CDBG funding, we expect to complete 35 tasks in Fraser in the 2024-25 funding year, and we project 40 in 2025-26. With our outreach efforts increasing, we are confident that additional CDBG funding will allow us to assist more residents of Fraser with the service. We regularly get phone calls and notes of thanks for the things that our volunteers do. One volunteer who went out to fix a running toilet noticed that the screen door was sticking, and he fixed that while he was there too. Another volunteer stepped in and did some housework and chores for a woman who was unexpectedly hospitalized. Other examples of help through this project may be replacing locks, washing windows, raking leaves, routine housekeeping, and installing smoke alarms. With the CDBG funding, the Safe at Home project can continue to grow, and assistance can be granted to a variety of lower-income Fraser residents. Thank you to the City Council for your consideration, and any dollar amount is greatly appreciated in our program. We hope to continue to partner with you going forward. And if anyone here tonight knows of any seniors that could use our services or are looking to give the gift of time as a volunteer, please let us know by calling our office or visiting our website at ivcinfo.org. Thank you. Can
Thank
we
you.
answer any questions?
I just have one question. Can we put this, your website on our website?
Oh, please do.
Okay.
Yes, we would love to
If we
increase
don't already, I think that would be nice.
That would be great, yes.
Thank you. No, I think you do great work.
Great, thank you. Anything else?
All right. Anyone else would like to speak on the CDBG funding? All right. I do not see anyone going once, twice. I will close the public hearing at 6:38 PM. Councilmember Shornack.
Yes, I would like to, these are the three that I would like to propose to
Let
the
me call that item, and then I'll let you go.
Oh, okay, good.
I apologize. I should have.
Yep, you're fine.
Let's see, where's my agenda? Oh, it's here. All right, item 7B, CDBG funding allocation recommendation. Take it away, Councilmember Shornack.
Thank you. I would like to recommend that we support the following three organizations. Care House with an allocation of $27.50 because we know what Care House does and how they do it for our citizens and others. Turning Point, because again, that's kind of almost hand in hand, $2,500, and then the Interfaith, $2,500. That would be my motion.
I would second that.
And that gets us to the 7750?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any members of council like to speak on this? All right, any member of the public would like to address this? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item 7C, fiscal year 23-24 audit presentation by Mr. Panter from Yo and Yo.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Alan Panter, partner of Yo and Yo, and I'm here to present the audit. The materials that you have.
Microphone.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you got to speak into it.
Excellent. Okay, great. The materials that you have, or at least that they've been distributed to you, are the audited financial statements, the governance letter, and also the presentation, which I plan to go over tonight. You all have hard copies of the presentation, and we're also projecting it up on the screen here for everybody to see. So the audit went very well this year. The city was well prepared when we arrived, and we were able to complete our procedures efficiently. The audit was filed on time for the first time since 2021, and it could have been presented last month, except I had a conflict with your meeting. So it didn't even come down to the deadline. It was early December that it was filed. So kudos to the city for getting it done after it's been late the last 2 years. So great job right there. So the city has done an excellent job of catching up on the accounting that had gotten behind due to some employee turnover, and also addressing some of the issues that we communicated the last couple of years. We've had some pretty detailed and lengthy discussions between myself and the council the last couple of years, and talked about a lot of issues that came out for the audit. And I think that the city management and administration has done a great job of really taking those to heart and addressing those issues. And it's resulted in a much better audit this year than we've seen the last couple of years. This couldn't have been possible without the hard work of your finance director, Angeli, and your city manager, Elaine. So thank you to everyone who worked so hard to get everything done and so that we could finish the audit. So thank you very much for everything that you guys did. We appreciate it. So one of our responsibilities as auditors is to review not only the numbers, but the internal controls and certain aspects of legal compliance that the state asks us to look at. And we also have a requirement or responsibility to report in writing when we find exceptions, when we find issues with internal controls, when we find non-compliance with state statutes. We have a responsibility to report that. This year, we do have one internal control issue that we identified, as well as a couple of management letter comments. But these are really less severe in relation to the issues that have been communicated the last couple of years. So I do plan to address those towards the end of my presentation tonight. So my plan for this evening is to give you an overview of the audit, to show you some graphs that give you some financial trends, talk about the governance letter, and to answer any questions that you have. So please interrupt me with those at any time. So if we can go to the next page of the, there we go, the presentation, talks about the audit opinion. The purpose of an audit is to give you an opinion on your financial statements, not to detect fraud and not to give assurance on internal control. So it's a very important concept about what it is that we're here to do. We're here to give you an opinion on your financial statements, which is what you see referenced here. So we're giving what's called an unmodified or clean opinion. That is the best opinion you can get, and it means a couple of things. It means, first of all, the statements are formatted in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So in other words, everything that's supposed to be there is there. And also, based on the procedures that we perform, the numbers are good. So unmodified opinion is definitely what you want to see. Okay. All right, I have a couple of graphs here to give you some very high-level overview of the city's finances. I'm going to give you, this first one deals with the general fund. So this shows you a 5-year history of the revenues, expenditures, and the fund balance. So the revenues are the blue, the expenditures are the orange, and then the fund balance is the yellow line there. You can see that revenues have exceeded expenditures 4 out of 5 years. So the fund balance has been going up steadily. This year, the revenues and expenditures you can see are much higher than the previous few years. And that's because the city received a grant from the state of Michigan of about $3.9 million for its pension. So that money was never received in cash. It went directly to MERS. but it was recorded as revenues and expenditures, and the general fund is the state requires. So, so that's why you've got that going up so much on both the revenue and expenditure side. I would expect to see that come down because that's a one-time grant next year. And as a result of that funding from the state, your funded percentage on your MERS liability went from about 50% to 58% this year as a result of that grant. So that's a nice bump in your funded percentage on your MERS plan. So, and as you can see from this graph, in terms of fund balance, the general fund is in solid financial condition as of June 30th, 2024. All right, next graph deals with the water and sewer fund. I like to talk about these enterprise funds. So when I say an enterprise fund, what I mean is a fund that is supported through user charges. So your water and sewer fund is supported through billings that your customers pay for the services that they receive. And I like to look at the long-term aspect of this because, really what these kinds of funds get back to is rates and capital. So you have to keep your system at a level where you can provide the services that need to be provided. So that's the capital. And then the rates are ultimately what funds all of that. So it kind of boils down to all of that. And so I like to look at it in this kind of a long-term perspective here as far as this goes. So what you see here on the graph is revenues and expenses every year. And you can see each year the revenues exceed the expenses. You can also see the top yellow line is your investment in capital. So that's how much your system, your water and sewer system costs, minus depreciation, minus debt. Okay, so that goes up and down. So when you invest in your system, that number goes up. When you pay debt, that number goes up. When you get annual depreciation, that number goes down. So the trend of that line going up tells me that you guys are putting more into your system in terms of ongoing investments in the system and debt payments than what the depreciation is taking away every year. So those were, this year there was about $1.7 million invested in the water and sewer system. There was about $1.8 million of debt that was paid, and there was about $1.7 million of depreciation on the system. So that's why that line's trending upward. So that's a good looking line to me. And then the other line you see here is the unrestricted net position. So that's basically the fund balance. That's the amount that you need to be able to run the system. You need cash flow. You need you need cash to be able to operate the system. You can see that has been a negative in 2020 and 2021. So that was a deficit. And then it came up to be positive very narrowly in 2022 and 2023, and you can see it's a little bit more positive this year. So that's a good trend. That's something that it comes from the operating surplus that I see here. So you've got your revenues exceeding your expenditures, and that's what keeps your fund balance moving forward. That fund balance looks pretty good. It's headed in the right direction, but I think it still needs a little bit of work. I would probably want to keep trying to raise that until you get into the $2 to $4 million range. So that's really kind of where I think that probably needs to go on a long-term basis. So water and sewer fund looks pretty good. All right, the next slide deals with the governance letter. And this is a required communication that's distributed with the audit. We issue a similar letter to this with every audit that we do. It's addressed to, management and the city council. Most of the letter is a form letter, but it does communicate several important issues related to the audit. The letter discloses any estimates used in the financial statements, any new accounting standards that were implemented, has some informational items, discusses any difficulties or disagreements we had with management, which of course we had none. Any misstatements we noted, we had no material misstatements that we noted. That's something different. That has been noted the last couple of years, and we did not this year, so that's great. And any management letter comments we would put in this letter as well. So this is also where we would communicate any findings related to the audit and any management letter comments, and I'll talk about those on the next two slides. So the next slide, we do have one internal control issue, and this is something that I kind of wish that we didn't have to do this, because what this is related to is the pension grant. So what happened was you guys received $3.9 million from the state. It went directly to MERS. It never came to the city in cash. That money, it was required by the state of Michigan to be recorded as a revenue and expenditure. When you have an expenditure in a governmental fund, you need to have a budget for that. So that the transaction was recorded. It was identified by your finance director. She did record the transaction as it was supposed to be recorded, but it was recorded after year end, and the budget was never amended. So you have you have about $3 million over budget for money that you never got in your hand. So that's why, it makes me feel bad, but if I don't communicate this, I'm not doing my job. So it's there. It's not, if I was sitting in your seat, I would not be concerned about this. This was a one-time, very unusual transaction. And really overall, the budget was very well managed this year. This is really just kind of an anomaly, but that's because of the dollar amounts involved. This is how I had to communicate it. So there you have that. Last year, though, you had 3 material weaknesses. So, and normally I would, when we have a material weakness, that's something that what I'm saying there is that it's really an issue that you need to take care of. This is not that. This is over and done with, and I wouldn't be concerned about it. Okay. All right, the next one is, the next page is management letter comments. So these are items that are less severe than material weaknesses, but still important for us, enough for us to communicate to you. Last year we had 5 comments. This year it's down to 3. These are all repeats from the prior year. So as good of a job as the city did in addressing all the things that we identified, these 3 things are still there. They haven't changed from the previous year, at least not enough to remove the comments. So just very quickly, miscellaneous cheat laws, the city has some long outstanding checks that need to be either reissued to the payee or turned over to the state as unclaimed property. So that's a process that they're going through right now. Capital Asset Administration, there's a list of assets that the city has that contains some old things that are on the list that I seriously doubt are still here. So we're suggesting that they go through and pull out some of those items that are no longer in the city's possession or no longer of any use. And accounts receivable. So there's a listing of accounts receivable related to the building department that contains quite a few items that were quite old, and we're just suggesting that they go through and clean up that list. So those are our 3 management letter comments. Any questions? That's all I have.
Councilmember Odell.
Hi, Alan, thanks. In the past, we had issues with internal controls, expenses being double-checked or looked over or signed off from. In this audit, you said it was a lot cleaner. Do you feel, I know you can't give 100% certainty with an audit, but do you feel that the internal controls of expenditures and signing off on those expenditures so one person doesn't have control of everything? Because it's been a problem in the past with the city, and I want to make sure that's cleaned up. And what's your feelings on those controls?
Yeah, we looked at that. We look at it every year, and especially when we have issues, we go back and we check on that. And we found that the city has made some changes to positively affect those issues, and we didn't see them as issues anymore.
And do you feel that there's those controls are well established, written down, so if we have change in turnover, someone can pick up that guidebook of what that process should be?
So I'm not sure if the city has their controls written down. Do you? We do. We have it in our,
That's
We,
the
we
lady
have a
in the back.
number of them written down. We've been working on each department, putting together all the processes, procedures, manuals. It's something that is ever-changing and growing. So I know every department head has been making updates on that. At the end of the year, I required each department head provide me at a minimum a table of contents, what they've worked on to this point. I received that from everyone. I know Ainsley's made some good progress. Still dealing with staffing shortage issues, talking about the sheets, the building department. With the payroll clerk that we've got coming in, that's going to free her time up to be able to start working on some of these things.
Hi. Yeah, that's true. For like bank reconciliation, which was kind of an issue last couple of years, no proper review. So we have the documentation. We have kind of a standard procedure for that. So anyone can read and follow that one. We did some changes, just Alan said, like journal voucher need to be signed and not the same person is entering and posting. So we have now proper control in the BSNA. So BSNA doesn't allow one person to enter and post. So we implemented these changes, but there's still a lot of procedure need to be written. But the main one, like we did, like last year we did for the ACH policy, the bank reconciliation. I still have to work on the fund balance policy, others, but some we implemented and have the return.
Great. This is the, I think, shortest audit presentation we've had in a while. So I want to thank you very much for all the work you did. And
Thank you for your support and thank you very much.
hey, it's about getting the numbers right. I really appreciate it. Any questions from council? Any other questions? Any questions from the residents? All right, I guess you're good to go, Mr. Panter. And
great, thank you.
thank you. We'll see you next year.
All right, very good.
Yes.
And hopefully it'll be even shorter next year.
Thank you very much.
I'll mark it down.
Enjoy your evening.
Done with the budget.
All right, item number 7D, fiscal year 2024-2025 budget amendments. City Manager Levin.
So the budget amendments, our finance director, Angelie, has prepared for your consideration. You can see those. The total revenue changes, $155,718. Total expenses, $648,930 with a net of $691,930. If you do have any questions about these, Angelie is here to answer those for you. Otherwise, looking for a motion to approve these budget amendments.
Councilmember Odell.
I do have a question. So $200,000 for the recycling and composting accounts, were those just never budgeted in the first place? Or what, or is it
We're
100?
actually budgeted, so that's kind of an odd scenario. So when we were working through our drafts, we had all the information in there. It was imported from the superintendent of DPW at the time. And somehow or another in the iteration, it seemed to have just dropped off. I worked with BSNA for a number of months trying to find out what happened in the software. Did I do something wrong? Was there a fault in the software? We were not able to find out anything about what happened to it. Part of this is in the transition, moving to Rob. Nobody really thought about that as something that had to be in there. So unfortunately, it's one of those things where I don't really have a good answer about what happened to it.
Okay. All right.
All right. Any other questions about this? I'd entertain a motion to adopt the budget amendments.
Second, or I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'll make the motion
That's
to
when I
adopt.
say
Yeah, I
entertain,
know, I
I'm
know.
offering
I
somebody else.
apologize. Adopt, yeah,
Okay.
presented.
Sorry, I do have a question.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
The budget amendment for the expenses in wages and salaries, why is it so much? Why wouldn't we have budgeted for amounts of that nature? We have
Which line item is that?
DPW, salary allocation, wages, full-time allocation, not budgeted, $43,431. Am I reading that right? That's the,
That's the current budget.
right, okay, then, all right.
The adjustments,
Yeah, the adjustment's right next to it.
Did we add on a couple new positions and
Right.
Requested amended amount is 98.
It's 55,
Yeah.
last column. is the-
Yeah.
So DPW, last year we started to the allocation for their salary to the different department, like building department and public safety, how they are working. So we created like kind of with Rob, allocation sheet, like 5% will go there, 10% different department. But the allocation sheet was not, need to be changed. So based on that, we making this amendment, so we are allocating properly to the different department. So that's why it is. So right now, when we look, we already spent that money so far on these two program. I have to do again one time, evaluate the allocation before the year end to make sure that allocation is correct. This is something new just started this year. Last year, I just did for the actual. So we are just looking how the proper allocation we can make. So we are allocating to the more allocation to the right program.
So
So not accounted for, just moving it to the
Yes,
right
it is.
spot.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
is it like allocation of administration at City Hall that goes into that budget? So it's money we're spending anyway, it's just
Yes.
goes into this department as opposed to,
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
It would be reflected as something else would be reduced. So whether it be water and sewer or roads, something like that, there'll be a reduction in that to compensate for.
Switching GLs.
Yes. And I have to do the proper allocation before the second budget amendment, but this is I know for sure because they already spent that money on that budget. So there will be few more before June.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
all right. Any other questions by council? Motion by Councilmember Shornack, seconded by Councilmember Baranski, I believe, to adopt the budget amendments as presented. Is there anyone in the audience like to speak on this? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right, item number 7E. This is the public hearing for Industrial Road Special Assessment Tax Roll. City Manager Levin.
As you will recall, at our last meeting, we had the first public hearing for the industrial park roads. That was for setting the district. This is the second public hearing, which is for setting the roll and the amount for the roll. One thing I want to bring to your attention is when we did this the first time around, I think about a year ago, we were at $809 a foot. Now with this new resolution and the funding that we are extending along with what we have received from the state is bringing that down to $230 a foot. Notice did go out to the property owners and as I said, this is the public hearing. This is their opportunity to speak on behalf of the property owners.
Okay. All right, I will open the public hearing at 7:03 PM. Anyone from the, that would like to speak on this matter at this time? Come on up. Sit in the middle and speak into the microphone so we can all hear you. And your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Pradeep Kurgavkar. I'm the owner of 33901 Riviera. He's the co-owner of the property.
I'm Brian Johnson, 18907 Candlelight, Roseville, Michigan, more like the tenant. We've been in the building for over 25 years. We paid our taxes for the last 25 years. The first 20 years, the city did absolutely minimum work in the complex, just patching as is needed. The last 2-3 years, the roads have been undrivable, which has kind of led to this special assessment. The area in front of our business is 90% good. There's very little damage in that.
Can you speak a little closer?
There's very little damage to what's in front of our building. So Pradeep, as the landlord, would like to protest the assessment for, we have, I think, 140 feet at $203, about $32,000. So he's got some pictures to submit, and obviously your people would probably come out and look at it anyways.
I'm sorry, but we didn't follow the procedure of giving the protest in advance in writing before the council, but we will do that shortly, if you can give us and work with us. When I look out the window, I don't see absolutely nothing wrong in the area where we own the building. We not only own the building, we also have a business in there. The looking outside the window, if it does not require any kind of a fixing, I have a hard time understanding why am I paying $32,000, first of all. Secondly, The business we are in is not in a position at this point to take additional burden of 32,000 to make any justifications with the numbers we have today. It will definitely develop a financial hardship for us to pay that kind of money. So, like I said, two issues, and we will, if you can give us some time, we will submit that in writing.
Yes.
We have the pictures also, but I don't have enough copies to share with everybody, so we'll make the copies and send it to everybody.
Okay. There is a protest mechanism, and I'll have Mr. Denault explain that after the public hearing. So,
He has a letter he can submit by the end of the meeting, which.
we'll have Mr. Denault give an overview of how to do that, make sure. Okay? Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Anyone else like to speak on this? Come on up. Name and address for the record, please. And if you can, the property address, just.
Eric Ebenhoe, 18401 Malin.
You got to get that microphone right in front of your face there.
18401 Malin Drive.
Okay.
Revere Industries, we're the tenant. I just had a couple of questions. First is, when do the assessment payments begin? Do we have that timing yet?
I'm going to take a question, and we'll answer your question at the end there.
Okay. Should I give, I had two more. Do I ask them now? Okay,
Yep.
thank you. When do the assessment payments start? When does the construction start, and when does it finish?
All right.
And the final one is, if there's any amendments or if rebidding, because I'm coming into this a little bit late, I don't know if there is it possible change to assessments, or who picks that up, or are the assessments fixed if there are any overages in the project or rebidding?
We'll cover that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Those
you.
are all good questions. Any other comments or questions? Come on up.
Stephen Insardi, 17,000 15 Mile Road. Bulldog Records Management is the name of the company. I haven't been involved in the recent conversations regarding this, but in the first public hearing that there was before decisions were made, I made some comments. So I'm not 100% sure if the position of the board is to do everything all at once. I had read that that was still on the table. I'm not in agreement with that. I don't even think it'll be capable of being done. Not that I'm an expert at that, but just watching the Kelly Road construction, and that was just one road, and how long that took. And the reason I make this point is, it seems like the decision has been made to put part of the burden on the property owners so that it can be done all at once. Nothing was done for so long. Why not just break it up as the city has money and gets money from some of the different areas that you did recently get money, and just do it piece by piece as the city has the money available, instead of putting the burden on the property owners. That's still my belief. I know some of the property owners voted on this and discussed it. I wasn't involved in that. My main concern tonight is, as I looked at the information that was provided in the letter, the property directly across from me, my assessment is over $70,000, $72,000. The property directly across from me has the same exact frontage on Commerce Road, and their assessment is $30,000. And it's because of the shapes of the property, because theirs is longer on Commerce but thinner on 15 Mile. I guess the calculation was done by whatever your shortest side of your property was. And there's a number of other issues within the layout because of the way people's property is shaped. But if I am going to pay an assessment, I would expect to be treated fairly. And my frontage is exactly the same as the property across from mine. And I shouldn't have to pay double. That's a sizable amount. I'm paying more than double the property directly across from me. Yes, my property is bigger on going down 15 Mile Road, but this is a payment for the roads of the industrial park. I have the same length of frontage, and I'm paying more than twice as much. If that can't be rectified, and I'm not saying I'm unwilling to pay some, my fair share. I just don't think I'm being asked to pay my fair share. Then my request would be, or I'd ask for the process to request to eliminate my access to Commerce Road, because I also have legal access to 15 Mile Road. And then I'll make that my primary access. I don't need access to Commerce Road. And in that case, then I would request that I not be part of this situation at all, and I'll pay no assessment. So I don't know what the process is for that. But when I got this letter and I reviewed that, when there's properties that have a small frontage on the industrial park and then widen out in the back, so they have the advantage of a small frontage on the industrial park, and their payment is very low. And because my property is shaped in a way where, the longer part is in another area than everyone else's, as you can see, if you look at the diagram, almost everyone else on Commerce is paying $30,000 to $32,000 to $34,000. I'm paying $72,000.
I'm going to look into that. Yeah,
So-
I'm going to get an answer for that one. So, yep. Any other questions that we can, or concerns?
Nope, just if there is a process for me to eliminate my access, then if there's not going to be a decision made on that, then I'm going to request to eliminate my access on Commerce Road.
Okay. And we're going to answer your questions after the public hearing. I want to get everybody's thoughts, and then maybe there's more than one person with the same question.
And I do appreciate everyone's effort on this situation, because it was something that all the owners were concerned about in the industrial park. Oh, I did have one last thing.
Sure.
In the 2 meetings that I attended, because there was also a meeting prior to the board meeting at one of the property owners' buildings where the city did a presentation. At that presentation, I brought up the issue of the entrance to the industrial park. And then at the meeting here at the board, I brought up the issue, I don't know if any board members remember. There's a lot of accidents. I'm at the entrance of the industrial park. There are a lot of accidents there. It is not a safe situation. That's a county road that, 15 miles of county road that access is in. Twice I brought it up. I don't think anything has been done with it either time, but there's a way to make a better entrance into the industrial park. And you do, last time I was told by the mayor that that property was owned by the property owners. I'm the property owner. I don't own the property. There's a setback for 15 Mile Road.
Mm-hmm.
You do have the availability of property to make a proper entrance for trucks going in and out of the industrial park. And that would be a county project.
Yep.
So it would be county money, and it would save probably some money on this project. So I'm going to, I guess, reemphasize my comment on that, and hopefully someone could look into it, primarily because it'll be safer for everyone that goes in and out of the industrial park.
I know exactly where you're located.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Hello. Ken Imler, Hawk Industrial Deluxe Development, 18500 Malin. He's right. He does have the same amount of frontage as across the street. I have 2 questions. Where did the 230 come from? Because in the letter that I had proposed to all the property owners, it was 202.25 was what we had agreed to. And what I'm scared about, can we absorb it? Yeah, but it's just, my concern is, where does it stop? Like government creep. It's this way instead of this way. So that's a 13% increase from what I had told the entire park and what I had no objections to. So now it's 13% higher at 230. So I'd like to know where that came from. And then also in the court, the Bennett Drive court, how did they figure those out? Because when you're rounding the frontage of the court, there's very little frontage there. I'd just like to know where that calculation came from. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for wearing the proper football garb tonight. And any other comments?
Brandon Kirsten,
65 Macomb Place, Mount Clemens, Michigan. We are on 34480 Commerce Road. Again, our assessment is for $36,858, and for years, nothing has been done with that road. And like the gentleman before me said, you know, why can't we break it up into a smaller chunk and do it when the money is available, instead of putting that burden onto the property owners that are already paying taxes on a road that hasn't been maintained in years?
Sorry,
That's all I have to say. Technology. Thank you. You're welcome. Anybody else? All right, I will close. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your. That's okay.
Tom Monroe, 33957 Dorica. I share a lot of the similar opinions of them. Obviously, I appreciate all the work you've done. You put a lot of work in with Ken and Jeff and the rest of the committee, so I appreciate all that. It's the most anybody's done in years working with us, so I truly do thank you for that. I've been reluctantly okay with the assessment of some sort, kind of sticker shocked by the original assessment of years ago. Not really pleased with having to pay again anyway. It's much better than the incredibly large amount before, but I'm reluctantly okay with it, but I was kind of with Ken on this with, I'm afraid of the creep where it's already started. You know, they shocked us with $130,000 for me the first time around. Now they're saying I'm lucky to have the 35. I'm like, I'm not too happy about that number either. Obviously, I know it's a bad situation that we're trying to figure out, and I do appreciate the work you've done, but I'm hoping there's a more affordable way, or maybe, like they're saying, stretch it out or look for money. It's quite impressive how much money you guys have found for us. So maybe looking a little more and, you know, checking a few more places might help the burden. I'm not looking forward to increasing my taxes the roads that I've used all these years. So
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pat Fox, Consolidated Document Solutions, 17601 Malin. Just a quick question. Is there going to be a fund for future road fixes down the road? Or is this?
Hold on, Ed, can you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Anytime that door opens, you're not
I
speaking
am in
loud
trouble.
enough.
Yeah, right.
That's how it works.
Is there going to be a road fund down the road, meaning like 30 years ago, we fixed the roads. Now we're here again fixing the roads. And the question is, with the amount of money that we're paying in our property taxes, to avoid this down the road, not to say a pun, but anyways, you know, is there a provision? Are you making a plan that so we don't have to go through this again? You know, I mean, how about the road? Has this project been complete? Have we got the contractors ready to go, or is this still out in the bidding process?
I'll answer that. I'll answer that question when we're done.
And that would be my question, are you going to develop a road fund?
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Stephen Geminer, Spemco Switches, 34480 Commerce Road. I've just kind of been brought into this recently, so I was actually here more on a fact-finding mission than planning to speak. But we are tenants at the building that we're currently occupying. We've only been there for about 3 years. We have a 5-year lease, and we hope to be here for many more years, but we were in our last building in Warren for only 4 years before our business had grown to the point where we needed to move to a larger facility, which is what brought us here. The timing could not be more worse for us. We moved in right at about the time that you guys decided that you're going to finally do something about these roads that, as I'm hearing, have not been touched for decades. We might be moving out in the next few years, and we're going to get saddled with the bill that's going to make these roads last for the next 50 years. So, you know, as a tenant on a triple net lease, that puts us in a very, very precarious position. You know, it's an interesting perspective to say, you know, why are we fixing this all at once? It's great. Rip off the Band-Aid. Let's just do it. Let's get it over with. The roads are terrible. But if you can do it over time and find more money over time and use the taxes that we're already paying to fix these roads, then you're not going to be putting businesses out of business, because there are, it's tough times out there. I don't need to tell you guys that. And, for a lot of businesses, we're just getting by. And now you're saddling us with this. And for us, we're not even the building owners. So it's something to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:20 PM. Thank you. We have a lot of questions, and I'd like to cover some of them. Mr. Denault, would you like to first start with how the protest process works, and so they can get at least an overview and what the starting point is?
Sure. So by law, this meeting tonight is really to entertain protests, but also to entertain errors or revisions. So most of the speakers tonight had questions. There was maybe a couple that were, I guess we could qualify them as protests. I don't know if they all use that word, so they would have to clarify their intent if they're protesting something or if it's more of a request to rethink this. A protest itself would have to be about the amount and the calculation mechanism and whether or not it was done correctly, whether or not it was done in proportion to their interest in the project and the benefit to be received. There are various ways to make that calculation. So there is no one right answer, as long as at the end of the day, there's a proportionality applied to it. Obviously, one of the questions tonight was, how was it calculated? I can't speak to that. I'm sure we'll get that answer. But those are the kinds of things that this hearing is designed to flesh out for you, so that at the end of the night, you can make a decision whether to approve it as submitted, send it back to the administration for some revisions based on some of the concerns, whether it's to, or make some corrections tonight if there were true errors that were made. But that's what tonight is for, and that's what protest means. As far as the process itself, as long as they verbally express themselves, they didn't violate any rules by not submitting a letter or documentation. They're certainly welcome to do that, but as long as they were here to voice it, that counts. We won't count it against them for not having written documents.
Okay, thank you. Just first thing, I don't know the name of the gentleman from Bulldog.
Stephen, sorry, was mine considered a protest then?
It was the first one.
Well, you're good, you're good. I have a question about that number 2, because it's not based on 15 Mile Road at all. So I would like to see us, if exactly across the street is, it's very hard, $31,099 or something.
Right.
I would like to know why yours is $70,000.
I think Mike might be able to help with that.
Could you help us with that, Mr.?
I was going to say, like, how are we getting the answers to this? Is the person here that did it?
I think I know why.
Well, let's, here, that's why we have the professionals here. If Mr. Vigneron can't get the.
Good evening. I'll do my best to answer all the questions that have been raised or that may be raised. In general, the accessible front footage was determined as equitably as we could for all of the parcels. They all have varying shapes and sizes and frontages. Some are irregular, some are quite regular with regular frontages and parallel to the street. Generally, we look at the front yard. So for instance, the 2 properties in question, the front yard does face Commerce. It is the shorter of the 2 dimensions along the property, and that was used for the assessment. The one on the east side of Commerce, actually their front yard faces 15 Mile Road from a zoning perspective. While they have the same frontage along Commerce, they have a shorter frontage, a front yard on 15 Mile Road. So that's why their assessment was based on their 15 Mile Road front yard frontage to be consistent with all the other parcels. It was the front yard dimension rather than the dimension along the roadway that was being assessed. In other instances, I think Mr. Emler brought up around the cul-de-sacs or the eyebrows. In those instances, those tend to be like pie-shaped type parcels, and they get very narrow, which kind of results in some inequity for other similarly sized, if you were to look at acreage and things like that. So those parcels, the assessment line is generally the building setback line, and you take an arc around the parallel to the right-of-way at the building setback, and then we use that dimension as something that would be comparable to the width of a regular-sized parcel. How much building frontage are you available to build on if you would look at your setback, right? So from the setback line, that's where you can calculate your side yard setbacks and use that for a building, right? How big of a building could you build on this pie-shaped parcel? Some other unique instances, on Malin, there's a section of roadway where the parcels are not perpendicular to the road, but we did look at a line that would be, I'll say, perpendicular to the side yards. So while the frontage may be on an angle, we would cut that out and make that so that it was perpendicular to the side yard. So that was a little bit more regular. If you have a lot that's generally, I'll say, 150 feet wide, but you have 170 feet of frontage because it's on an angle, we would bring that down again, kind of akin to the same front yard setback line. Those were some of the unique ones that I recall. There was a separate parcel that actually didn't have any frontage on the road, and there was the parcel that it was behind. We used the same frontage for that parcel. Again, trying to be as equitable as we could with the.
So in the case of the parcel on Commerce, his building faces, the front of his building is on Commerce. I mean, I've been in that building, so that's not his front yard for the
You're
purpose
talking
of
the east side?
It's on the north west corner of 15 and Commerce.
Yeah, so the front yard would be considered the shorter of the two dimensions, so that's the.
But we're charging him 40,000 more than the one across the street, which has the same, their front yard faces 15 Mile. And so they pay less
From a zoning perspective, their front yard is 15 Mile Road.
I didn't even know there was such a thing. Okay. Not real thrilled with that one. Just hang on a second. So how many other parcels like this are in this district?
There are several. If you're on a corner lot, you're going to have frontage on two parcels interior. You would not be assessed for both of those frontages. You would be assessed on the shorter, your front yard. And I think generally there is I don't know how well it translated through onto the paper copies. There is a yellow line that kind of shows the dimension and where that dimension was measured. So on all the parcels, you should be able to see exactly where that dimension was taken.
Yeah, it's very hard to read, but now I see them. Okay. How many, you said there were several. Is that 3 or is it 15?
I'll say somewhere in that range. The corner parcels in particular would be the ones that were most affected by that.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
I just want to make sure that we're clear because I think that there's some confusion going on. So the parcels that we're talking about, your property, I'm sorry, I don't remember the addresses, but they're okay, so the parcel that's directly across the street from you on Commerce, their frontage is on Commerce. Your frontage is on 15 Mile.
No.
Am I getting that right, Mr. Vigneron?
Backwards.
Backwards.
The opposite.
Okay, so your frontage is on Commerce.
Mine is also. Both of us.
I'm hearing that the frontage, one of them is on 15 Mile, one of them is on Commerce. Which one's on 15 Mile, which one is on Commerce?
These two right here.
Okay. So this one is the one
Page
that's.
70.
Which, if that's the frontage on 15
No,
Mile.
this is the side yard, actually. The front of their building's right here.
Lower one is on 15. Yes. The frontage that's on 15 Mile
You called
is
it
the
the
lower
front
assessment.
yard? Is that a technical term or is that?
Yeah, it's a zoning term.
Okay.
Front yards, side yards, rear yards.
Sorry, just.
In a minute, we're
real quick.
trying to work through the.
So then, but you said that the frontage was greater accurately, correct?
The frontage,
Or
17,000.
I think I'm still getting them backwards, but the one that's,
one that's
the
on the
greater
west
of the frontage is on 15 Mile.
If you were to look at the two dimensions for,
I'm sorry, guys, I can't hear.
Okay, yeah, one at a time, please.
if you were to look at the two dimensions for that particular lot, the shorter of the two dimensions is along Commerce.
The shorter of the two dimensions is long, which would make sense then in the difference being 70 and 35.
Or the one on the east side of the road, the shorter of the two dimensions is along 15 Mile Road,
Which is the cheaper.
which is the
It's the
cheaper.
more expensive. Yeah. You're on the same page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, that makes sense.
But their entrance is on Commerce, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
But the
I follow.
actual frontage has a longer property line, which is where the monetary
Difference comes.
difference comes from. Oh, okay.
No, that's a mistake. What you just said is incorrect.
Hold on, we can't, hold on. We can't have people talking from the audience. I want to get to the facts of this. And, hold on.
I'm
There's a-
asking questions.
There's a time and a place. Well,
Well,
yes,
I'm
but-
asking Mr. Vigner on.
Okay. We're going to go through this one at a time. And so, question for you. These are what you propose to do for the assessments. Can this be changed? Yes. If you mention an error, if there was a mistake, if we don't agree, if this property over here faces the property across the street and they both have the same amount of roadway in front of them on Commerce, logically, as a taxpayer, I would be in his position saying, why am I paying 2.5 times what my neighbor is? So can that be adjusted is the question.
If it needs to be.
Can the council make that adjustment?
But based on the definition, both of their fronts are not on Commerce. One of the front is on 15 Mile, the other front is on Commerce. So we're not comparing Commerce to Commerce, we're comparing 15 Mile to Commerce.
And I would disagree with that if I was in that industrial park.
Are you correct? Is she correct?
Is that correct? That one of them, their front yard is 15 Mile, the other one, their front yard is Commerce?
From a zoning perspective, yes. You've got the
Okay.
shorter of the two dimensions for one of the parcels
I
along
understand
Commerce,
the
and the
dimensions
shorter
are
of the two.
different,
Yeah.
but I just want to make sure we're clear on that too.
That was the way that the
The
assessment.
actual frontage.
So from
We're
a
not
zoning
comparing apples to
perspective, it's a technical zoning term, is that correct?
Front yard, yes.
We can change it, but how the rules were applied was consistent using zoning verbiage. That's the fundamental rule we're
And I
trying
agree,
to-
I understand that to be the case, and I'm asking.
Just so the people understand, you applied the same rule across the board, and individual parcels could have considerations for change, but at the end of the day, the pot has to all still equal the total. So changing one, the money comes from somewhere else.
Yeah, and I understand that. But I want to know, is this changeable by, can the council modify that and override that rule?
I mean, it's the council's will to assess what you find. Obviously, that, if there are inconsistencies, I think it could,
And that's what I think, I guess that's the best term for it here, is that it's inconsistent with, this gentleman looks out his window, sees a property that is exactly the same width on Commerce, and he's paying more for the road. And that's a question. Can we get, hold on. Can you come back and tell us what parcels are like this?
we can certainly do that.
Because I would like to make sure that we're being I'd hate to see this gentleman pay $40,000 more for the same road that his neighbor's paying 34. Even though the front yard the front yard is on 15 Mile, but anyway, yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
But I just want to make sure that it's not getting misconstrued. Also, the rules were applied consistently and accurately. So that's where I become concerned of that we can't change or bend the rules to benefit one person or another, because everyone is then going to have my property does this, mine does that. If we start to make adjustments and considerations that deviate from the rules that are meant to create fairness, then that's going to potentially create issues for others. And then that's not fair either.
Correct. We work closely with the assessor to review all of these individuals and some of the unique circumstances, and this was her concurrence as well, that this was an equitable way to spread this assessment across this district.
Okay. All right. That's one question. Let's see. Doing it all at once, Mr. Vigner. No, we're not at the public comment part of this yet. There will be an opportunity to do that. Mr. Vigner, referring to all at once, we're doing this over how many years? 2 years is the goal?
Yes, the last comments that we've received, we believe we're kind of in consensus for a 2-year project. That's been kind of the last communication with the businesses. I think originally we were proposing 3 years. I think we've found a way to make this a 2-year project. So yeah, while it's all at once in terms of the assessment comes now, construction likely to start later this year, 2025. We see this as a 2025 and 2026 project. Part of the reason that it was determined to make this all at once was the fact all of the state money that has come in. This is your one opportunity to assess the roles across the entire district. If an individual property is not benefiting from the project as a whole, they cannot be assessed. So if you do a few projects now, in the future, when the assessment comes, it would be for the individual streets that would be.
Yeah, so we talked about that. This takes that $4 million and spreads it evenly across the entire park.
Correct. Effectively, every parcel is benefiting from the $4 million from the state and
as well as the money from the city, the $3.5 million we're putting in, as well as the bond money that we'll be paying over 15 years. So this total project is in the range of $16 million.
That's correct.
And so of that, the industrial park would pay up to $4 million, not to exceed $4 million. And that was the question that was asked about creep. And government creep doesn't apply to this because we've already put in writing that it's 25% up to $4 million and not $4 million and 1 cent. Well, with rounding, it may be $4 million and 1 cent, but it's not going to be $5 million or $6 million. It is this number over 15 years. So I understand people are concerned, and at a $30,000 assessment over 15 years is roughly $2,000 a year. I do understand that as a former business owner that had a triple net property, I understood every bill I got was for capital improvements was benefiting the property owner. But at the same time, I did get used to the property during the time of my tenancy. Let's see. So we had piecemeal. So we're doing it all at once because this is the time, and doing it over time would cost a lot more money, and we would take the costs and we could end up putting them a greater burden on certain streets or properties than. Okay. So we answered government. Let's see. And you've already explained how some of these were in previous meetings. You explained how they were the courts, and some of those were calculated. Correct?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Those.
Okay. Let's see. I think that is it for you, Mr. Vigneron.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
I believe there was a question I didn't answer about whether or not the contracts have been executed. That is not the case. The design is in process with the hope of putting this out to bid within the next couple of months to start construction later this summer for what roughly amounts to half of the project, with the remaining half of the project being constructed in 2026.
Okay. All right. And then sinking fund, no, the answer is no. We haven't talked about that yet. We're trying to get over this, get this started, and then long-term sinking funds, which is where we put money away each year. That's never, I don't know if it's ever been done in this city. I can't recall anything like that. But one thing at a time, okay? We are making progress, and I've been around here. This has been talked about for 15 years?
At least.
Yeah, and so that's where we're at. Okay. Let's see. Any other council member questions?
Not question, comment.
Comment, yes.
Also, to the gentleman that we're speaking about, your road not necessarily needing work, the other thing that's being done with these roads when we have them up is we are upgrading all the sewer systems, all the drainage and everything else so that these roads will stay maintained for quite a while. And I know we haven't put any huge amount of money in, but we have, I know it's just patchwork, but we have been at least attempting to do that over the last couple of years just to keep it so it's not as egregious as it is, but it is. But just a little smidge better in the meantime that we were trying to come up with a plan that, yes, it is a very bitter pill to swallow, but at the same time, this is the best we can do, and we're not done looking for money. We still have some feelers out with some other people, hopefully to get some federal dollars. We don't know. Obviously everybody's always clamoring for the same dollars, and so I know that, we haven't exhausted everything. So obviously, if we come up where we're able to get more funds, that may drop too. So I would encourage you guys also to reach out to the federal representatives and see if you guys can get a meeting with them and see if you guys can get any more movement on it, because we're supposed to be all doing this together. And if we're going to do it together, the more people who poke the bear, the more likely we are to be heard. So I would encourage all of you to reach out to them as well, because I don't know that we're going to be able to get a better deal than this, because as it is, the city is bearing a huge amount of this bill as well. So keep that in mind. Besides the money that we got, we've allocated money for that, and we will be paying the bond as well. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind, that I don't know that there's anything better we can do. And we've kicked this around for a lot of different angles. As you know, the first thing that came in was beyond sticker shock. So if you guys have any other ideas, we're always willing to hear them. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland reminded me I didn't answer one question about the 236 versus 202. I think you took that 809 divided by 4. Yeah, I think that's how you did it, and the calculation was a little bit different than that. It's going to be $4 million divided by the linear feet divided by. That's basically the math. And we can get you the exact spreadsheet that's calculated with if you want. I understand, and that's the number. That's the number we're considering tonight. Whatever the feet is, yes. Yep. So. In my experience, we take debt service divided by whatever the denominator is, and that would be linear feet in this case, or calculated assessed linear feet, maybe the right term. And then that's how we.
Is it that the approximately 15,264?
I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't memorize the linear feet, but.
Well, no, I'm just saying it was in the proposal, so I'm just assuming that's what we're talking about.
Yep.
So it's 15,264.
Okay. All right. We will move on, and you will get a chance to speak in the next round here. We're going to move on to resolution, item 7F, Resolution 2025-01, to affirm Industrial Roads Special Assessment District tax roll.
I'll make a motion.
All right.
Second.
You want to make, is there a motion language?
I'll make a motion as set forth in the packet pertaining to this topic.
I think it's essentially what the agenda item is.
Thank you. Yeah.
To affirm.
The agenda item. Yeah.
Okay. Motion by Councilmember Baranski, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland. All right. Discussion by council? Anyone? All right. I will take it out to the audience. Now it's time for, come on up and
Stephen Insardi, 17,000 15 Mile Road, Bulldog Records Management. With all due respect, Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland, what you said was not accurate. The expert didn't step up and clarify what you asked and what you said. My property has access to both 15 Mile and Commerce. The neighboring property, which you're saying by zoning, is the front yard is 15 Mile, has absolutely no access to 15 Mile. That property has no access to 15 Mile. It only has access on Commerce Road. This is a question of they use the shortest side of a property. So every property that's on a corner, depending on the shape, can maybe not be being treated fairly. I'm a little offended by you saying that, people can't have special treatment. I'm not asking for special treatment from this board. I'm asking for fair treatment from this board. So you were making faces and scrunching around, just like you are right now.
I'm going to.
No, hold on,
Hold it,
hold
but-
on, come on,
As a citizen, I'm allowed to be affected by that.
I understand.
All right? Your faces and your comments are totally inaccurate. If we're treating this, if the calculation is going to be done per linear foot, then it should be the per linear foot of the road that's actually being repaired. And that's why I'm requesting, and again, if I have to use the word protest, I'll use the word protest. I'm going to request to be eliminated from this. I'll eliminate my access to the roads that are being fixed. I can use 15 Mile Road. My access, my distance of my property on 15 Mile Road is larger than my Commerce Road. But I shouldn't have to pay twice as much as the person that has the same exact frontage as me on Commerce Road.
So I have a question.
after public comment. we'll
All
back
the
to-
corner properties, if he does his evaluation, that have specific shapes related, that are different than the property across from them on the corners, are going to have the same issue. Now, they should have probably come here and protested, but they didn't.
So your protest, I think, Mr. Denault indicated that your comments, there was, met the level of, or met the bar of protest requirements?
Yeah, his protest is duly registered. There are legal, I can't give legal advice to.
I'm not
anyone.
asking you to.
I just want to be clear, though, that he's met the criteria for protesting, establishing that record has been made, and whether or not the protest is meritorious or not, it's not for us to decide. It's, council can certainly make changes, but isn't really in a position to decide whether it's a meritorious protest under the law or not.
I understand that. So where would his next, what would be this next avenue if he wanted to pursue the protest?
So preserving your protest tonight gives you the right under state law to go ask the Michigan Tax Tribunal if the city did it right. And, there are various criteria that would apply to that in terms of equity, formulaic application, non-discrimination. There'd be a number of criteria they would look for to determine if the protest is meritorious or not.
Okay, so.
And what would be the process for me if I want to request to just eliminate my access to the road and eliminate myself from this whole situation?
I would suggest you contact the county, since 15 miles of county road, and see what your options are with that.
Well, I have legal access to it. I have a driveway on 15 Mile Road.
Fraser Road. That's my question. Actually, that's my follow-up question.
So I don't know. I don't run.
Well, I guess I'm asking Mr. Denault.
Well, Mr. you asked questions through
Okay,
the chair.
sorry. I
No,
apologize.
that's okay. We just want to keep everybody, we don't want to keep all the temperatures down and have a good conversation. So as far as accessing 15 Mile, the County of Department of Roads would be somebody that you would talk to about that. As far as Commerce Road, that's not something I can answer tonight, and I'm not sure any of us could, unless you feel comfortable.
Mr. Mayor, I think the only thing I would add is, and I don't know this answer for sure, but my instincts are changing his access point to eliminate a Commerce Road access point would not necessarily make a difference in terms of the equities of sharing in the road improvements, because the road improvements benefit his property, even if he doesn't necessarily have an access point on it. And keep in mind, too, he leaves or he sells one day and a new owner comes in and wants to reinstate that access point. I think that's how it would be viewed if ever analyzed, is that it's still a benefit to the property and its value with, new roads that have been improved, regardless of where the access point may be.
Okay. All right. Thank you. think that's,
I do have a question.
yes.
Okay. So my question, just
Let-
because I want to make sure that, again, I'm fact-finding, want to be clear. So what you are asking for is to eliminate your access on Commerce, but to be assessed on Commerce, not 15 Mile. So you want your front yard to be 15 Mile, but not to be assessed on 15 Mile, to be assessed on Commerce?
No, that's not what I was
Okay, so
asking.
you want your front yard to be Commerce, not 15 Mile. So you would no longer have access to 15 Mile is what you're proposing?
Well, no, that's not what I'm asking.
Okay.
Because if you know, there's like 4 buildings that,
I'm just asking about your property.
Yeah.
I'm trying to answer your question. Would you like me to answer it?
Yes, which access is it that you're asking, that you would have preferred access? Which front yard?
My assumption was if I eliminated my Commerce access, then I shouldn't be involved in this assessment because I won't have access to Commerce. I do agree with Mr. Denault's aspect of my property still borders Commerce, so that may require it anyway. But there are other buildings that aren't in this, involved with this because they have access to 15 Mile only.
But that's their front yard then, and they are assessed by that frontage of 15 Mile. So that's my question. So
That's
you're
why I
asking
asked
for
the
your
point
front
of,
yard to
if
be.
I eliminate my access to Commerce, then my frontage
Would be
is
15
only
Mile.
15 Mile. So
Makes
I would
sense.
have no
All right.
assessment.
I think there's a lot more questions you need to think about, and we aren't going to answer that one, be able to answer that one tonight. But
My basic premise is what you saw from the very beginning, which is 2 buildings have the same exact frontage. He's paying 30,000, I'm paying 72,000.
I understand your concern, and I was in an industrial park in Oak Park for a long
And
time.
again, I'm willing to support and do my part,
Yeah.
but not twice as much as the guy across the street from me.
You made it quite clear, and I think you did a good job. Thank you. Councilmember Baranski.
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Vigeron. Is this issue only going to occur on properties that are on partially either Kelly Road, 15 Mile, and then one of the industrial subs? Is that correct? This potential issue? It's not every corner. I mean, it would be every corner if you broke down it can't be every corner because every corner is assessed the same thing.
Yeah, so I believe if you have the assessment map in front of you, I was just looking at my copy, Bennett and 15 Mile Road, the parcel on the west side is a similar situation to the one that we've been describing, where they have frontage on both 15 Mile Road and Bennett. 15 Mile Road is the shorter of the two, it effectively is their front yard. So while they have a sizable frontage along Bennett, they are being assessed on their 50 Mile Road frontage. So again, that's the consistent application of the rules. That
Which is the shorter of the two?
It's the shorter, it's the front yard. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, again, the front yard from the zoning term, not necessarily where your parcel from.
And I think you just used a word that popped into my head, consistent application of the rule as stated. It may not be perfect for everyone, but it is a consistent application of it under the law. All right.
But, okay, but that
answer?
No, that's okay.
mean to
No,
interrupt
it was good, but it's fine, because that was the back end. But so are we thinking there's only 2 areas where there may be this concern?
No, there are others. I was looking at the corner of Malin and Kelly. There is a parcel there that has frontage and access to both of those roads. They
Okay.
are assessed on their Malin frontage because that is the one that is their front yard.
So is that,
Yes.
how many are we, I know you were kind of looking, like, just.
Yeah, just trying to go out the opposite side of Bennett and 15 Mile Road is a very large parcel. They've got a unique shape, a lot of frontage on Bennett and a lot of frontage on Vermander as well. And I believe the proposed assessment was based on a portion of their lot that fronted Vermander because it was the shorter of the 2 frontage dimensions. Again, the consistent kind of application of that assessment.
Okay, so you took a very safe, generic, broad brush approach rather than trying to modify, I was trying to find the right phrase, to ensure the integrity of the process. Not picking favorites.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Shornack.
So my question is, with regards to, I understand the whole frontage thing, and I understand how you came up with the formula, which, in theory is a good formula. But in these particular instances, I mean, I would feel the same way. If I had the same lot size, because we're going to stop saying frontage, because basically it's where your front door faces. So they're both basically the same lot size on Commerce, right? So they're both the same lot size on Commerce. So if they're both the same lot size on Commerce, they should have that equal. That should be equal, especially those corner lots. So whatever is on the street that is not 15, because 15 is not our issue, Commerce is, it should be on the street that if they have the equal amount, they should share the equal burden. I mean, I would be
It could work the opposite.
Huh?
It could work the opposite, where they have a very little amount, and therefore we don't assess them. The pie-shaped lot, exactly.
But he
So
said,
that's where.
but I'm saying, but then you have he came up with how they figured that out, though.
Well,
That's like on the curbs.
It's
because he said how
industry
much
standard,
you could,
it's not
what you could build
Mr.
on.
Figure.
Well, right, but I'm just saying, I
Well,
would feel the exact same way, though. If it was my property and I had the exact amount of property as the person across the street from me on that street that I am being assessed for, I would want it to be equal. So I just think there might be a better way to make it more equitable because we're talking apples to apples. We're not talking apples to oranges. I don't care which way the front door faces, is basically what I'm telling you.
Well,
I understand, but that's what it comes down to. So apples to apples, if it's the same exact amount on that street, it should be the same. I mean, I don't disagree with that at all. That's how I would be fighting the same thing. So I'm just telling you.
Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland.
Okay,
Are
so-
you done? You done?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have two questions. So if consistent application of the process is the goal, then how is it determined which side is frontage? Front door?
No, not necessarily front door. It would be, most lots are going to have a length to width ratio, things like that. So we look at what the front yard is. You've got front yard setbacks, rear yard setbacks, side yard setbacks.
So it could be setback. All of
On
those
corner lots, they
factors
usually have
also.
two front yards.
I guess
So-
it would be, how is it determined that these two buildings, both on the corner of 15 Mile and Commerce across the street from each other, how is it determined whose front door is on which side? Like, why is his frontage on 15 Mile and then the frontage for the other business on Commerce?
Again, we're trying to make this a representative assessment based on some parameters. One of the other things that we had explored initially was total acreage of the parcels.
That was going to be my next question, is it ever done on acreage or footage based on area rather than frontage?
Right. So in working with the assessor, the way that we had interpreted the city's ability to make assessments was on the benefit from the accessible front footage was what we determined to be the method that we were going to propose for this particular assessment.
Okay.
In that case, you do try and balance out a lot of those items, and when you look globally at some of the parcels do have very large frontages that are not necessarily assessed for that entire frontage. Some of them are assessed for their entire frontage, just depending on some of the unique circumstances that
And that's just, that's why I'm asking also, because if it's consistent application of the process, then you're doing total area, square footage or acreage or whatever you want to call it. I mean, that would be your entire lot. So it doesn't matter what side the front door is on or your frontage is. If you have more property than someone else, it's going to be more.
But that becomes a tax at that.
Right, and in this particular case, I think the state looks at this as a linear improvement, so you need a linear assessment.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. Okay.
Okay, Councilmember Perry.
All right, I'm sorry, I was trying to add up. Mr. Vigneron, how many parcels are in question? Is it about 125? Does that sound right?
In the assessment,
Yes.
that sounds right in terms of the total number of parcels. I think we
125,
had-
128.
Yeah,
Okay.
128, and there was, I think the total accessible front footage that we had calculated was 23,006
Okay.
on the 15,000 plus or minus feet of roadway that's being improved.
I do feel like this isn't fair for a few of the, not a few, a handful of the residents here, or the business owners. And I think we should probably try to come up with a different formula. Because some of the, I mean, I just took 4 million divided by 30, or 125, and I get 32,000. And I know we can't equally probably share this identically from parcel to parcel, but some of these people are paying $100,000. And I'm trying to count how many are under the 32,000 threshold, and it's very few. So there's got to be another formula we could probably come up with where this is more.
So you wanted to just take total properties and divide the bill?
I didn't say that. I'm saying I think we should revisit the formula. I understand how you guys are gauging this, but it isn't fair to the business owner that's been speaking, how he's paying 2+ times his neighbor across the street. That's regardless where his front door is facing. I mean, what if he changed his facade and he put his front
It's
door
not the front door.
Not the
It's
front
not the
door.
front
Hold
door.
on,
That, she messed that up.
Hold on.
Because it's on Commerce.
That was a question.
I don't.
Okay, hold on, Mr. Perry.
No, I'm fine with him. You guys jump in. I don't have a problem with that.
Me too.
I know we need to maintain order, but
We need to maintain order. and
it's
so
not
everyone-
fair that this gentleman's going to pay 70,000 while his neighbor is going to pay 32,000. Regardless, if they're both using Commerce, they're both having the roads redone for their benefit, and he's paying double, more than double. I think we need to revisit the formula we're using to calculate the costs. And again, if you go down the list, it's difficult doing this to try to pay attention to people talking, but I'm trying to add up how many people are under the 32,000 threshold, and it's not many. If we were equally dividing this amongst everyone, and I know that's not technically fair, and it's not based on a formula, most people are spending well over $32,000. So if we did it mathematically equal with the 125 businesses or whatnot, I think everybody would be a lot happier. Some wouldn't, obviously, and if there's a way to.
Well, we have to process
Hold on.
everything.
One at a time. Mr. Perry.
No,
has the floor.
I'm fine with you talking.
Yeah, me too. I don't want to get sued. And
No, I
want
understand.
a consistent process, because I'm with you. I'm like, makes
It's not fair.
But if the rule's the same, unfortunately, because I looked and I was like, oh, okay, but then I'm like, well, someone's assessed 11,000.
But
They're
who's-
going to come screaming when we apply the
I
33,000.
understand, but how are we basing these rules? Did we turn it
rely on
to
experts.
All right, so.
Mr. Vigneron or Debbie, Mrs. Kopp, to dictate how we're formulating this, is what I'm saying. Can't we start off with like some fresh ideas where we come up with maybe a new formula and then maybe get the business owners okay on this? And like, we might be able to do this smoothly another way with a different formula, and that everybody, comes to terms and like, this isn't that bad. We're all paying this fair share. And it's not $100,000 for a couple of these people, 114, 112. And then, like I said, I'm trying to count how many are under the 32,000 threshold. There's very few. Some of these people are, again, 99, 70, 41. If you told me 32, everybody pays 32. Again, this is just an idea. I think you'd have a lot more happier people. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. I'll make some comments. This is the consistent application of a rule that's been done in other communities before for decades. So it's not perfect. If this was a industrial park that just had straight line roads and every lot was the same size, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Yep.
So it's not always fair in the application of these rules. I understand what's happening here. But I don't think we are in a position as a council, and I wish we had talked about this, if you had concerns about this, we had talked about it before this meeting, but I don't think we're in a position to create a brand-new way to do this. If you did it by dividing everybody by 120, whatever, 4 million by 128, you'd have half the people would be unhappy. Everyone would be. No one's number would be exactly to a formula other than you're paying the 128th. So we can vote, we're going to take a vote on this, and we can vote yes or no. And if we vote no, I guess we have to come back and do some other work. But I thank you for your explanation. I understand that it's not an explanation everyone wants to hear, but there are some corners that are benefiting and or not benefiting, but are receiving the lower number, and then some that are, we have many corners. So there is a formula, and I assume that any council member can reach out to the city manager and arrange a conversation with Ms. Kopp to find out how, and Mr. Vigneron to find out how this happened, or how this is calculated, I should say. So that's my comments. Anything else? Somebody's phone. All right.
Sorry.
Councilmember Bransky.
Okay, so I just have another question then. So if we make a motion and approve this resolution,
Which has been done. There's a motion on the floor.
There is a motion on the floor.
okay, perfect, thank you. But, no, right, but, okay, if we approve it, Mr. Mayor Mr. Denault, and we then get protests that get ratified by the tax assessor, what happens? Where does the money come from to make up the difference?
In the event that the tax tribunal were to say to any property owner, we agree with you that the assessment is disproportionate, or the formula was inaccurate or inequitable, that extra money that they're no longer going to pay to the cost of the project would be absorbed by the city.
Okay.
And the only way to fix that would be to amend the special assessment district assessments. In other words, sort of reapportion it, whatever amount that is. Because we do have allowances, of course, for deficiencies and overages. And if it resulted in a deficiency, then, clearly we could reapportion at that point.
So my understanding is there's a process that can be taken if this motion passes, and there's a way to make up the deficiencies if any inequities are determined to be valid that would allow this project to still get completed. That this board doesn't have to deviate from the recommendations of our experts based on the process that's been done repeatedly time and time again.
Yep.
Correct?
If you're asking me, does the council have to do something differently? I thought you said have to, so no,
Well.
you don't. You're not obligated to do
I
something.
love when you take me literally.
I had to.
I know.
That was a tough one.
In other words, like, the pieces aren't going to fall apart on anyone because this is got all kinds of options all over the place.
You're confirming the process.
Right, yeah, I'm trying to confirm the process for everyone without giving legal advice, but also making it clear that what we are doing, why we are doing what we are doing, why I made the motion, why I'm going to vote in favor of it, but knowing that if we are wrong as a city in our assessment, it's okay because the project can still be done and we can either absorb that cost as a city or reassess to the rest of the business owners. Is that a correct summary?
I think that's a correct summary, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All
So I'll
right.
call the motion then.
Well, we're going to have citizen participation on this.
Oh.
Yep.
I thought that's what that was.
Yeah, we did that.
Oh, yeah. All right, anyone else? All right, now, oh, okay, Mr. Come on up.
It's like,
Actually, I understand where he got all of his numbers. I can look at each one and understand. I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. The problem you have regarding Steve's, the one we're talking about, and the one across the street, if you made them even, if you brought Steve's down, then a whole bunch of other people would show up. Say, what about me? If you brought the other guys up, you'd put them right out of business. Because Steve's building is 39,000 and the other guy's building is 10,000. Both properties are maxed out. Now, there's a couple of them that I would say there's room for a little bit of up. There's a couple of them that I have a tenant that's looking at 70,000 also, you know. Can they afford it? Yeah, they can afford it. So I'm not going to scream about it, but it is 304 feet of frontage of lineage. But so I understand where Mike got all the numbers. And I don't have an objection really with a lot of them, but yeah, be careful with that slippery slope. Because I know exactly who in this park can afford this and who can't.
Mm-hmm.
I know every building in this park, and I know everybody in this park. So, yeah, there's something open for a little bit further discussion. Like there's a couple of them that are double-sided that are really getting a hell of a deal. So you're in a tough spot, but I just want to let you know that I understand with all these numbers that Mike came up with. I know if a couple of my buildings got tagged, like even my court, I got 2 buildings in the court. One of them doesn't have more than 30 feet of frontage. Mm-hmm. I got a $24,000. I get it. It pies out. It's a 20,000 square foot building. It pies out. I got another one that's got probably actual frontage of about 80 feet, but it pies out also. So I'm not gonna complain about any of that. So I understand. If you'd like any input from any of us, let me know.
Okay.
Okay? We're just here to help.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I think that was the last comment. I will call the vote. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Baranski.
Yes.
Mayor Lesich.
Yes.
Councilmember Odell.
Yes.
Councilmember Perry.
I'm going to say no.
Councilmember Shornack.
Yes.
Councilmember Stein.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 6-1. All right, thank you very much. So that was for the bonds, correct? No, that was for the resolution. I got ahead of myself. Okay, this is item 7G, Resolution 2025-002, intent to issue bonds for industrial roads in the Special Assessment District. You want to just give us an quick intro?
Sure, I can do that. So the next step
Mr. Bond Counsel's here.
Yes, Tom Collis is here. Just to let you know, this resolution is a formal requirement for the intent to issue bonds for this capital improvement project. To affirm this tonight, we would be moving forward with the process. Our next thing that we would have to do is provide public notice. And if you have any questions or if you want to give a little bit more of a enhanced summary.
Sure, I'd be happy to. This is the first step in the process. So all this resolution does is authorize the publication of a notice in the paper that says the city intends on issuing bonds in amount not to exceed $9 million to finance road improvements in the industrial park. It provides for a right of referendum. So if a petition gets circulated, signed by not less than 10,000 registered electors of the city, filed within 45 days of the publication of that notice, the city can't proceed to issuing bonds without putting it to a vote of the full electors. If no petitions filed, we would come back to, the next step would be come back to council with actually authorizing the issuance of the bonds. So this adoption of this resolution doesn't commit you to do anything. It just starts the process, starts the 45-day referendum period. We'll come back to council after bids have been received, we know the project cost, and then determine what amounts to be borrowed. The maximum would be the $9 million that's set here. there's just some cushion built in there right now. There isn't the intent to actually issue that at this standpoint. There's just cushion built into the notice. We'd come back to council with an actual dollar amount to authorize. That would have to be below that number, of course, because the notice sets the ceiling as to what can be borrowed. If for some reason project cost comes in and it's higher than that number and the city wants to borrow bond for that, we'd have to redo that notice. We'd have to do a supplemental notice. But the process would be, this is the first step. If you get past the 45-day referendum period, once bids come in, then we come back in for authorization, knowing the project cost, knowing how much the city wants to bond for the project. And then we'd actually authorize the issuance of the bonds and set forth in that resolution the structure. So when the principal interest payments, how, the bonds would be 15 years also, you'd correspond with the same period of time that you'd have the project out there. Again, we're doing roads here. And that would also provide for the method of selling the bonds. Do you want to sell them out to an open market through a competitive sale or do some type of private placement with a financial institution?
Okay. Just one question. You said on the referendum, you said not less than 10,000 people?
Correct.
We're only a city with 11,000 registered voters.
I'm sorry, 10%, thank you.
That's what I was going to say. That'd be-
Statute says, it's either 10%
thought
or
so.
15,000, and obviously, yeah, it's 10%, thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. 'cause
No, you're right, yeah, thank you.
We can't get 10,000 people out of 7,000 to vote.
It's that's a
All right,
monumental
Councilmember
hurdle.
Odell.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Resolution 2025-002 to intend to issue bonds for the industrial roads in the Special Assessment District as submitted.
Second.
Oh, I have one question for you. Give us a timeline. When would we be floating these bonds or selling these bonds? And then when would the first payment be? Because that's what the people that would be paying the bill.
So once those bids come in, then we'd come back with an authorization. And once bonds are authorized, you typically would have to market and sell the bonds, 45 to 60 days before proceeds would be in hand.
Okay.
So the goal would be, if everything proceeds, to have funds in hand by summer for construction, right? So that would be the process. The timing would be, first interest payment would probably be sometime this fall, first principal beginning in 2026.
Okay, so we would begin the assessment July 1st, 2025.
The payment. Yes, the assessment,
assessment
correct.
to the property
correct.
owners would be on the July tax.
Correct.
Okay, very good. All right, Mr. City Attorney.
Sorry, I wanted to make sure I heard that right, but I was reading the resolution at the same time. Was the question when the first assessment will be due from the property owners, or was that a different question?
When would we be placing the first assessment on the tax bill?
Against the property owners to have a payment due, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
So the resolution you just adopted makes the first installment due June 1st
June 1st of
this year, with subsequent installments due on June 1st of every year for the 15 years. Now, if we need to amend that, we can go back and amend the
We
resolution.
didn't adopt it
accordingly.
yet, but yeah.
Can we make,
No, I'm talking about the original resolution, not his.
okay, so would they be paying this as a separate payment to the city?
The assessment will be, yes, it will be due June 1st as an installment, their first installment of 15.
Okay.
That's what they would pay to the city. It's irrespective of bonds, it's irrespective of how the city's paying. I wasn't sure on what the questions were being.
No,
answered.
I've seen these on my tax bill, or, my Plainfield Township tax bill. I get all my assessments and they're on the summer tax bill. We would be doing this as a separate bill that goes out to,
I would defer to the experts on how they want to do the billing, but the resolution that we adopted said the first one is due June 1st. We can always amend that.
and that was, have we adopted that resolution?
Yes, that's the resolution assessing the property owners
Okay.
with their amount, their specific
All right.
amounts.
So we could adjust that if we wanted to.
The June 1st? No, the ordinance says immediate. But the council can set the date. So rather than make it immediately due, we set, the resolution anticipated June 1st. If the council wishes to change that, we certainly can.
Can we simply, do you see that a lot, Mr.?
It's really what, it's really what council directs. It doesn't have to be on a tax payment date.
No, I understand that it's not, I'm asking, what do you normally see? Do you see both?
I mean, it's frequently that it's on the tax payment date, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay. Which, well.
I'm fine with how it was presented by the council.
Okay, then we'll go with that. We adopted that, that's fine. All right, anything else from council? All right, anybody from the public like to speak on this? Got one man.
I want a quick clarification. This is just actually like the 70,000 that Steve was talking about. That's just based upon the first year. This project still has to go out for bid, right? And if it comes in at 13 million, it's going to be so that number could come down. That's the max. The 70,000 that Steve was talking about is a max number.
Correct.
It can only get lower. It can't go higher because that's
correct. Correct. Correct.
All right, so then if it gets bid out at 12, 13, 14 million, then we can see this number because I'm a little nervous too because it's his is 5,000 a year times 15 years. So
yeah, and it would be at the end of the project. It's not going to be the bid. It's going to be what the final project cost is.
Correct.
And so we won't know that. The assessment is based upon the 70,000.
Right.
And when the project is complete and we have the final numbers, we will then know what
when the project's complete or when the bids are.
When the project
is awarded.
Yes.
Awarded?
Completed.
Completed.
Yes.
Okay. So this number could stay the same number for 3 years.
Yes.
The project could be completed in 2.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Anyone else? Yeah.
I just want to clarify when the payment, you were saying June 1st. Now, is that a lump sum of the first 15 year? Or is it going to be done in an accrual? Like a monthly?
It's going to be 1/15 of that assessment.
Okay. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? All right. No one else on council? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, item 7H, 2025 Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Contract Award. City Manager Levin.
We have gone out to bids for sanitary sewer lining project, and going out to bids, we received 6 bids for that. AEW is recommending DVM Utilities be selected for the project. The low bid was $340,575, and also looking to have a contingency of $25,000 and an estimated amount for AEW to provide construction services for $42,500. So looking for a motion to approve this project.
I'll go ahead and do it. Motion to award a contract for the 2025 sanitary sewer CIPP lining project to DVM Utilities in the amount of $340,575. Authorize AEW to provide construction phase contract administration services in accordance with our standing agreement for the estimated amount of $42,500, and authorize the DPW superintendent and city manager discretion to approve additional contract costs from a construction contingency of $25,000 with a total authorization not to exceed $408,075.
Second.
Okay. Anyone on council like to speak on this? Any member of the audience? All right. All in favor, say aye. Oh, motion by Odell, motion by Lessig, seconded by Odell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Thank you very much. Item 7I, set fiscal year 2025-26 budget schedule.
So budget season is upon us again. We just got through with the audit, and we're getting ready to start moving forward with the budget. I have a recommended budget schedule before you in the agenda request item. Looking to set the public hearing date for April 10th. We'll do that at the February meeting. The budget presentation, followed by the public hearing, would be April 10th. We would have a budget workshop the following week on April 17th, and consideration of approval of the budget May 8th. And the deadline where we need to approve the budget is by May 19th, so that gives us about 11 days of wiggle room if we cannot come to consensus and majority approval on May 8th. One other thing that we are looking at and considering is to have a budget workshop prior to getting the process started, to just give department heads and myself a little bit of direction on some of the numbers that we're looking at, including capital expenditure priorities, wondering what kind of priorities and needs council may see. Fund balance, considering what we may want to consider doing with fund balance. I know the last couple of years we've been working on spending it down. Is that something that we want to continue doing or not? The PA 33 funding level, currently we are assessing 1.5 mils. Is that still an appropriate number? And based on the fund balance and any capital expenditures that we're planning on would be taken into consideration for that. Typically, we'd also take a look at the water and sewer rates. However, we're set with that for the year. If you should choose to want to do a budget workshop for preparation for the department heads, I would recommend January 23rd for that date.
Okay. Council. Councilmember Perry.
I'm going to be out of town on the 23rd, unfortunately. But, I mean, I don't want to slow you guys down. If you want to meet, I just won't be there.
And ironically, that's the one weekend I will be here, so I was like, but I'm with you. Do you want a special meeting for that? These are all legitimate questions. Do you think that's something we can accomplish in February meeting? I mean, we've been pretty efficient with these meetings, so I'm like, if we say you get an hour in the February meeting, we don't overpack it with other stuff, does that? But what you need is what we want to give you, because I can.
I've started working on the February agenda already. There really is not a lot on the February meeting.
Like I said, I don't want to throw a wrench in the plans. If you guys want to meet. I just probably won't be here.
It would give us maybe a little bit more time to prepare some information.
If we wait till February? Yeah.
Oh, good God.
So if we just commit that February will be a longer meeting, knowing we have budgetary things to discuss, and we come prepared at that meeting, that would be my preference, to not have a special meeting. If you're okay.
Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you done? Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland.
I like the idea of the 23rd. I just wanted to point out, Mr. Mayor, that we have the Detroit Policy Conference that day.
I am going to be gone. Then we're booked.
Well, we could make it just with a start time. It's going to be a long day, but if everybody else wants the 23rd, that's fine. I just wanted to bring it up.
I'm fine with February.
Okay. I actually talked to the city manager about this and said, I'd kind of like to have a discussion before they get deep into the budget. But if we can do this in February, and all of us, because you started it a couple months ago, Councilmember Ransom, that we need to have this conversation before we get deep into the budget.
Right. No, 100%.
And that I was asking her.
100%.
And if we can agree that the meeting in February be a little longer and that we get some questions or ideas to the administration ahead of time, then they kind of have an idea of where council's at individually, and then they can discuss options. I'm on board with waiting till February for that. Any thoughts on that? You're good with that?
I'm fine with that.
Good.
All right.
Perfect.
Can we do that? Sound like a plan? Do we need to take any action on this? Well, yes, we do need to. Or-
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to take any action, so at the February meeting, we would have a item to set the public hearing date for April 10th.
Yeah, and then we'd have short presentations from the departments and saying, here's what we're looking at our needs in, kind of conceptually, based upon what we all.
Well, if they could send them ahead of time and we can review them, we will have our questions.
Sure.
I love that.
Sure. But I think this is a good way to really start that conversation about what we want to do with that fund balance. What we want to do, local roads, if we can plan to plan, so.
And I'll be working with Angeli to kind of try and hone down on that fund balance number, given all of these big decisions that we've been making
Yes.
and outstanding projects that we have that maybe have been budgeted in current years and maybe are falling a little bit behind, like Masonic Detention Basin is one thing. So we'll hopefully be able to kind of give a little bit of a refined number for
Okay.
what we're comfortable with the fund balance being.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland.
I was just going to ask that in the spirit of clear direction, when we say we would like to have it in advance, like could we have it a week in advance?
We'll do every.
Or let us know, I guess, like how,
you can do-
how much time we can have with it before, just so that they have clear expectations of when they should have it. So.
That's
All
all.
right.
It's a very,
Right, we
very
won't-
tight time schedule from when department heads provide me their budget to turning around for the public hearing in your budget. So just to let you know, and that's.
Well, and a week is like a stretch goal. I mean, like 3 business days would be fine, you know, I mean,
Right, right.
something like that, but
Right, you get the.
not 24 hours, right?
No,
We're
you
not
would get it
Congress.
as part of the packet, definitely. It's just that it is a mechanism of so many moving parts that feed into the budget that we can't get you a budget in like March because we're waiting for a whole bunch of information and numbers, and then once they get the numbers, we have to compile it into a budget. I need to pull everyone's budget together and make sure it actually is balanced first. And go from there. And then I have to meet with them and say, okay, do you need this? Can we get rid of this? Is this realistic?
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you very much, council, and I think we have a plan. All right, item number 7J, resolution DIA partners. City Manager Levin.
So back in, I believe it was July, we approved a resolution to partner with the DIA for a public art program to work with a designated artist on a mural for a public building in the city. At the time, we had talked about McKinley Park, and we have passed a resolution. Since then, I have had a couple of meetings with the DIA. They visited the site and voiced some issues that pertain particularly to the building and the material at McKinley, that it would be somewhat limiting because of the way that the brick on the building is, that likely it would limit us in the type of medium that an artist would be able to do and any type of detail. I have talked to some other people and talked to a couple council members about this prior to the meeting, just to see if there was interest to even add this back to the agenda for discussion. And I know some people had talked to other people and done a little bit of homework, looked at previous meetings and trying to figure out, is McKinley still where we want to do the mural, or is there a different, more desirable spot? Because we have gotten to the point where we have a line where we either need to move forward with McKinley or change it. To be able to do this mural painting this year, which this is the year that we are in with DIA, is 2025, so we really need to get the project done this year. Really comes down to tonight making a decision, where do you want the mural? Couple options that have been discussed with some other groups is the side of the restroom building next to Fort Fraser, and then also potentially the side of the building on City Hall over by the fire bay.
On the exterior?
Yes.
On the brick?
Yes. So those were a couple options, and I just wanted to see if you were interested in changing the location at all. It would be something you would have to just redo the resolution, so it'd be a new resolution, and we would just change the location. Otherwise, we will move forward with McKinley.
Councilmember Shornack.
Well, since it's got to be a city building, and if it's limited at McKinley, what about the senior activity center building? Because I think that's the paintable kind of brick, and it faces the front road of 15. So it kind of really, I mean, the bathrooms, you know, yeah, but at the same time, the only people are going to see that is if you're actually physically in the park over there. Same with McKinley, you know, you're only going to see it if you're in the park facing that. You're not going to see it, and I just think if you want it to really be a focus and you want people to draw attention to it, you need to have it somewhere where people just literally driving by would see it. So I would say put it on the senior activity building.
How much is there? They have the windows, don't they?
Not on that one side.
The 15's all just brick?
It's mostly brick.
It's got high windows where the gym is.
High.
Yeah, they're really high.
Perfect,
So I think
okay.
you have, like there's a nice base, is what I'm saying, for it.
We have not done the landscaping in front.
That was going to be my talk about the landscape. So that is a good idea. I like that.
Councilmember Odell.
Yeah, I don't think, looking in hindsight, McKinley makes sense at all. Just the building's too small to do anything really effective. You got bathroom doors on the sides, you got donor signs on the front facing the street, and then you've got, water fountain on the other side of the pavilion. So it doesn't make much sense there. I'd be in great. The two spots that I like is either the senior center or the side facing the fire bay. The pure brick wall, because a lot of traffic comes through downtown, it would be a centerpiece. Do we know what size mural? Is there a specific size in mind, or is it?
We won't know until we get further along in the process and an artist is selected. The next step in the process is to do a community survey, and this would go out to people in the community, find out what their interests are for what they would like to see in a mural. Any other feedback that they might have regarding a mural.
So I'd be fine with either of those two. I mean, as we do upgrades to Steffens, it would be nice to have it in facing Steffens Park, right in the center of the city if possible. But I'm open to the senior center as well.
If I might, my only concern with that is because that's brick.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I've seen murals on brick, and it just, I don't find it appealing. It just, and then when it starts to fade, that's the other problem. When it starts to fade, if you've got like the senior center already, that's white. It's already painted white. If the mural starts to go south, it's very quick and simple just to paint that white again, where if we have it on actual brick, it's going to look like a train wreck, and then we're going to have to paint the whole side of the building. I'm just throwing it out there for future maintenance purposes.
Councilmember Baranski.
Yeah, that was going to be my concern was this building looks classic. Let's not alter it when we have a blank canvas that's, although classic, easy to fix with a very low expense if, unfortunately, the art deteriorates over time and we don't get touch-ups, renewals. I just would never vote to paint over the structural brick at City Hall.
All right, Councilmember Stein.
Yeah, I would love to have for it to be at Steffens, right? We're trying to reimagine Steffens and trying to bring it up. I understand where you're coming with the brick now on the side of the fire bay. By the bathroom, by the park, though, I mean, it wouldn't be a bad thing. Yeah, it wouldn't be visible by everybody, but a lot of people use that park. So I would be for that, or I'd be for the senior center.
Same.
So I initially found this partner program. It's not a grant. It's a benefit of the DIA because we pay taxes to the DIA. And I think there's like a $5,000, isn't it $5,000? A fixed amount of money they are providing us. So bigger mural, I don't know how much murals cost. So a mural on the side
Sounds
of.
like the bathroom is a better.
Well,
It's only you're saying they're spending $5,000?
The DIA program is I believe it's a $5,000 benefit to the city. So that's why I actually first thought about Fort Fraser bathroom there, because it was a reasonable size. If we wanted to go bigger, I mean, I'm open to ideas on and supporting that. I'm interested in marketing the city and making it look pretty. But that was why I had initially kind of limited it, not putting it in not the side of Detroit Wing Company where you're getting off of 94 and it's the whole side of the building. That wasn't what I had in mind.
I know, it's a game changer with the limitation on the price, yeah.
Okay. So that was my thoughts. Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland.
I was just saying my preference, I think, would be on the senior side of that building. I think that to Councilmember Shornack's point, it does have a preferred facade to it. And also the building is, it's a big building. It's kind of plain. It's kind of dated. It, could use a little fun. As far as how far $5,000 will go, I mean, that's up to the artist, right? I mean, I feel like paint, you could make $5,000 go a long way. Don't use gold leaf or something. I mean, that's for them to determine, but, yeah, I would be for the senior activity center.
Okay. I would not mind that. It's just a matter of how far 5,000, what are we willing to invest in doing that? It may cost some money to do that. So at this point, do we need a resolution that says we're putting it on that building? Or can you go back and perhaps explore how much it would cost to do a certain size on that building?
We would need to have a resolution.
Okay.
Change our resolution.
All right. So we would need,
So you would have a new resolution, it'd be 2025-03,
okay?
and you could use the same language. I would just say, the third whereas, you would change the city council has identified whatever the location is. And then at the back, now therefore be it resolved, you would have the location in there as well.
Okay. So do you want us to pass
You
that?
tell me the location, I'll plug that into the resolution. You don't have to read all that out. Just
But
pick
do we have a
location.
consensus on bathroom or senior center?
I guess my concern is if it comes in that the mural on the senior center is $15,000.
Well, the artist is going to design it based on the space we give them.
Right.
So, yeah,
It doesn't have to be the whole wall.
No, it does not.
That's-
Matter of fact, that would be gauche, so I
Okay.
would think, yeah.
And it's already a blank.
All right.
It would
then-
be.
Then I would support the senior center.
I just think the bathrooms too. I was just curious where Councilmember Perry and Odell were with regards to bathroom versus senior center.
Whatever, it's,
2-2 right now.
I'm fine with senior center. It's a
Okay.
gateway into the city. It'll have a lot of high traffic. If we want it to get a lot of visibility, it won't get it at the restroom per se, only by locals that go to that park. So to make the bigger statement, I would probably be more in favor of the senior center then.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I was going to say, so I'll make a motion to prepare a resolution designating the senior center as the location for the Detroit Institute of Art collaboration.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Councilmember Bransky, seconded by Councilmember Odell. Any member of the public like to speak? Apparently Ray would like to speak. Come on up, sir.
Name is Ray Wojciechowski, Fraser Senior Housing. Basically, I do like the idea of a mural and all that stuff. The only thing that was bothering me right now is what would be the theme. In other words, do we have ideas for the theme? One of the ideas that crossed my mind is that are you going to go back in history? You want to do it with the Indians that maybe settled in this area? Or do you maybe want to do it with McKinley Airport? Which was, a lot of people still talk about McKinley Airport. And again, this is ideas, what kind of theme do you want to have for that? Just throwing that idea out, take it for what it's worth.
There's a public input period after this, so we would be taking exactly the public's input on it. Thank you. Any other comments? All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, it's going to be on the senior center. Thank you very much. And I think that's it. I believe it's time for the city manager comments.
8.
Board of City Administration, thank you.
So as I mentioned, I did meet with the DIA along with our recreation coordinator, Chris Delmage, and our other representative who's on the Recreation Commission. On a blank on her name, I'm sorry.
Echo Hunt?
Echo Hunt, yes, thank you.
Right over there.
Echo.
So I think the meeting went really well, and thank you for passing the resolution. I will make sure and get that to her as soon as possible. Our next step is just to review the survey questionnaire, and we'll be getting that out likely sometime in February. Working with Comcast still on completing our switchover. We have done the switchover for our internet. The next step is working on the phones. There's been some complications with switches and things like that. We're going to have VC3 coming out to label all of the cabling for the phones because they were never labeled. So that's going to take a little bit of time on their end, but in the long run, it's really something that should have been done anyhow. Potentially looking at a changeover date for the phones of the 16th and the 17th. So there will be enhanced features for everyone, including council. I'll have more information coming up soon. I have a training session that won't be until after the install is complete. So I'll have more information as soon as I get it. I will have it passed on to you. I had a meeting with the library group over at the library today, the director and their architect, along with the building official. Still working on compiling this list. I tried to help provide them a little bit of direction. They do have a meeting next Monday, so hopefully they will be able to have their board finalize a list to come to us for the February meeting for consideration so that we can get that put together and hopefully schedule our closing for the building. Pretty excited to announce that we posted for the Family Fun Night, and that's going to be at Vintage House. In the first hour, we already sold out of our 100 tickets for that, and Chris is looking to see if we can add more people. We do have a button for waiting list, so if you are interested, make sure that you get on the waiting list for that. If for some reason we can't add more people to that night, we will likely be adding another event coming soon in the future.
When is it?
It is February 15th.
I have a question about that night, too. Because I've had people ask about a daddy-daughter dance. Is this in lieu of a daddy-daughter dance?
So
family
that's
fun
what most
night?
communities are going to now
Okay.
because daddy-daughter is pretty exclusive. So this is a little bit more open to different types of families and dynamics.
It's free?
No,
Is that what
I
it
don't-
said?
That's why I sold out.
It said
It is free.
It said this event is free to attend, but registration is required. So I guess when you say sold out,
They ran out of space.
okay.
Probably booked. Yeah.
That's why I think they should.
We done that before when we did have the daddy-daughter dances. They were okay. Okay. Just curious. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Item 9, report of mayor and city council. Mr. Perry, would you like to begin?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Councilmember Stein?
I have just a couple things. First thing, I would like to say a big thank you to Angelina and you guys for the audit getting done on time. That's amazing, so thank you. Also, I just want to remind, I know it's not till March 1st, but the Fraser Band Booster Craft Show is one of their biggest fundraisers for the band, so if you love craft shows, March 1st, it starts at 10 a.m. Other than that, Happy New Year to everybody, and that's it.
Councilmember Shornack?
I am very grateful to the staff and especially Angelia and her staff for getting that done as well, because we have had numerous bad audits. So I am very excited because I know you'll get the rest of that completed next year, and I have no doubt it'll be even quicker. And thank you for the direction and from you, city manager, because I know that you have to lead the whole group. So if you don't have the leader, the band doesn't play well. And the museum will be open next month, but I believe it's going to be the first Sunday, but she didn't call me today. But usually it is the first Sunday. So if you see the signs up, you know it's open. And I know in the spring they will be having sales and taking donations, but wait for those dates because it's usually going to be Wednesdays, but because they will get ready to have their barn sale and everything. And I know this year is also a huge anniversary for the museum, so there is going to be lots of fun things planned for the fall with regards to our anniversary for the museum. So other than that, Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Baranski?
I don't have anything to report.
Councilmember Odell?
Again, kudos on the audit. That was a huge thing on my bucket list here to get done in the city, because coming up in budget season, it's much more easier to make decisions when you have the actual numbers. And I hope you can whittle down how much is available after we spend $4 million of that general fund for the industrial park and all the big projects coming up. So we have some direction going forward to know what we got to work with, and that way we can set the proper priorities without having to guess and change. February 8th is the Fraser First Blue Jean Ball. Tickets are on sale at FraserFirst.com. If you haven't gone, it's a great event. It's $55 for food and open bar. We've had lots of sponsors. Year after year, we've had very generous sponsors that sponsor the Blue Jean Ball. There's more opportunity to do that. It's a great night. All the funds go back into your community. We're trying to reimagine Steffens and build a great space there. It does take dollars to get things like grant writers and things of that to make it happen. So come out, support your community, have a good time. There's going to be prizes, auction items, and music and dancing, and just a good time with the community. So other than that, that's all I have.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland.
I will just echo like the rest. I mean, fantastic work on the audit. Anjali, I mean, just amazing, both of you. Great work to everybody.
That's it.
That's it.
All right. I'll say it too. Thank you. I've been a fly in the ointment in a few years over that, and yes, I have, and I'm proud of it. I'm glad we got it done, and I really, I supported getting it done on time, and nice to see. If there's one thing on there, and it's explained because the state of Michigan gave us money after the close of the year and we didn't do a budget adjustment, I can live with $3.9 million going straight into our pension fund. So that's not a, so we'll check that one off the list. Tonight we made some difficult, but I think positive decisions for our roads. And we have, wanted you to know we are committed to improving this. We're putting in, $3.5 million up front, along with making bond payments for the remainder over 15 years. So we've taken that commitment, and we will be using tax dollars over the next 15 years to pay that as well. It's going to be inconvenient, but it's going to get done, and that is a huge thing. We do hope that some other funding comes in, and what that will do is reduce the tax burden, the taxpayer burden. We are still coming up with like $3.5 million up front. So the DIA, I like the idea of putting it on the seniors. We've got a canvas there already. Budget, I'm looking forward, now that we have the audit and we know where our numbers are, I'm really looking forward to discussing in February what the wants and needs of the departments are. They have needs and they have wants. And so I'd like to have a discussion on that so we can actually get to a consensus on, we don't have to agree that first night, but at least we have a direction so that they can come back with, hey, you asked for this, this is what it's going to cost. And and I would like to see city manager in the near future a RFP for a park plan for Steffens Park so that we can start planning that out. We budgeted $400,000 this year, and we're not going to be spending that but I think we need to really come up with a whole plan that addresses the long-term needs and that requires a professional to do that. And last but not least, thank you for the new microphone. I feel much better, and that's all I have tonight. With that, let's turn to citizen participation. Anyone like to speak?
Hi, my name is Dory Vasquez-Nolan, Director of Care House, the Macomb County Child Advocacy Center. I wanted to apologize. I had 7 o'clock in my head for the public hearing, but I was told that you allocated tonight. Because I am planning to retire later this year, I decided to stick around just because I wanted to thank every one of you. Hey, me. Okay.
How you doing? Like, I know you.
For your long-standing support of Care House and our services. We're also, I know I'm speaking for the staff of Care House, to say how grateful we also are for the fine officers that the City of Fraser has that work with us every day to serve child victims of sexual and physical abuse. I've shared some information with statistics showing the services that your money has provided for child victims that are residents of Fraser. Also some information about our prevention program and our Family Resource Center. Both are fairly newer components that we've been fortunate to get funding for. So we're serving more families even before allegations of abuse have occurred. But yeah, thank you again for everything.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations. I'm jealous.
Thank you.
You guys do great work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else from the audience like to speak?
Laura Lesage, 15201 Fairview. I too want to say how these microphones are great. I could hear everything you guys were saying. So.
Great.
As far as the Blue Jean Ball on the 8th, in February 8th, Councilman Odell's kind of said everything there, and I would just like to open it up that it would be great to see council there, city administration. This is your opportunity to come to an event that that the Fraser First does to benefit the city. So it'd be nice to see people there to help participate and enjoy the event with your fellow residents and friends of the Fraser, because we have a lot of people committed to Fraser First Booster Club that want to see good things come with this city. And our next project is going to be amazing once we get started on it. So that's what this event is all about. With that, our next meeting for Fraser First is Wednesday, the 15th at Hanover Grove at 6:30. So please come, and we're going to probably be talking a lot about the dance. Also, I wanted to tell you that the next meeting for the Beautification Club is on the 22nd of January at Ramshorn at 6:30. And this is where a group of people come together and we talk about what we're doing within the city for the beautification of certain areas of city property and that. And then I also wanted to mention that this month, the VFW will be starting their spaghetti dinners on the 4th Wednesday of the month, so Wednesday the 22nd. So please come and help support the VFW. They have put on a great meal and a lot of camaraderie between the residents come there, so it's a great event. And that'll happen every month through October. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Shornack, seconded by Councilmember Stein to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 8:57 PM. Thank you, and have a good night, everyone.